What's up, guys? My name is Keenan Kompon. I'm recording this video here as an introduction to my channel. I'm going to talk a bit about myself and what I'm going to be posting on this channel. This isn't my first time making content. I've been making content. If you really go back when I used to play video games, CSGO as a kid, I used to make content on that. But more recently, within the last year or so, on and off, I've made more self-improvement focused content, motivational, habits-based biohacking, bodybuilding content. But I never really stuck with it fully, and I was never really consistent with the content that I would make because, I'll be honest, I wasn't truly living it out fully in my life, in my day-to-day life. And, I was less mature when I would make content. I was also, and I see this all the time. You've probably even seen this. Just people are so molded by the industry and the perception of others in the content they make, where, I'd watch my content back and I could tell that I wasn't saying something I necessarily didn't believe, but it was something that I could tell I was saying it in a different way than I would naturally because I knew it'd be perceived by others. And what this channel is going to be is just me authentically documenting my self-improvement journey and showcasing my personal development from video to video in the way I speak, in the way I present myself, in the way I think, in the way, I look, really just every facet that I work to improve myself in. And over, this last year, but especially these, a few months ago, I've truly stepped into that next frame, that next identity of who I have to be to make the change and improve in the way that I want to improve and the changes I want to make. And I'm just going to authentically document that here. And I want to inspire others through my content, through this, documentation, and through me just speaking my mind here, which is going to be what most of my videos are. But of course, I'll be dropping advice on habits-based stuff, training, what I eat, how I approach all that, my routine. But all those things are really downstream from your mindset and your identity. And that's something that was that was a huge thing for me to get over. And I see so many people still obsessed with it, thinking, how much video games can I play? Or when's the latest I can drink coffee? Should I even drink coffee? People just get so obsessed in the what and the what and the what, and they never focus on the who. I really think back to my first 2 years of university, my first 2 to 2.5 years of university, when every night, throughout the day, I would just be drowning out my thoughts with video games, with watching YouTube while eating, with listening to music, just constantly bombarding my brain with some sort of stimulus, or hanging out with friends, going out to eat. But whenever I was alone with my thoughts, like when I was in bed trying to go to sleep, or when I was in the shower, it was just that visceral, deep pain of drifting from where I want to go in life and wasting the potential that I have. And having really that ambition and knowing what I want out of life, but not taking true action on it. When really you have to derive all your value and your sense of purpose and really just everything from living in congruence with the person you need to become and adopting that identity. And truly, I've stepped into that next frame of maturity, of self-improvement. I'm not trying to say I'm some sort of crazy authority figure here. I'm not trying to say I'm some sort of elite bodybuilder entrepreneur. It's just, I'm always looking to the next level, and I'm just always worried about the next, I'm always concerning myself with the next trait I have to adopt and the next person I have to become. And, being an entrepreneur and a fitness coach are really fundamental to who I am. I've been fitness coaching basically since high school, and I've really always had that entrepreneurial spirit. They're just fundamental parts of my identity and what I'm all about. And I'm really not trying to exalt myself in that way. I'm just saying that that's core to who I am. In addition to that, I'm also a university student. I'm in my 4th year of studies, and I'm actually living at my residence, you know. I'm just recording this in my car because it's actually Saturday, November 1st here. It's 10:58 a.m., 2025, and I got up at 4:25 a.m. I do that every single day. I got a ton of work done this morning. I just had 2 cups of coffee, that's it. I was at the farmer's market. I like to see, I like to go there and see people, busting their ass and support them. People who, I remember I saw this one stand today of someone who was a hairdresser. It was just one girl who had this whole booth for hairdresser. And I just thought, how many haircuts you have to cut to even cover the cost? Just people busting their ass, people hauling lettuce and that kind of stuff. I just like to go there, support them, just see it, expose myself to, get out of my room too. I used to always chase that kind of vibe where I'm in my room on my laptop building and working on stuff 24/7 in a dark room. But, as I've stepped into that new identity, a lot of these things I do are downstream from that. That's a perfect example. People say, oh, should I drink coffee or should I not drink coffee? Or here's a good one. Should I do cardio? Should I do some sort of intense cardio? It's like, once I start stepping into that frame of a bodybuilder and an athlete, just naturally downstream from that, I decided to start swimming and, doing other forms of cardio. It was a symptom. All these things are symptoms. And my content here is just going to focus on the real needle mover, which is identity. But like I said, I will be talking about, what's going on and with my routine and how I'm eating, how I approach that, how I approach training. And I'm really excited for this channel. I'm really excited to document my progress, and I really want to impact others in my content here. And if there's one person who was in that cycle and resonates with the content that I make and allows it to make a true change in them, not in the way that a lot of people just watch content for fleeting motivation, or they use it to externalize their focus and mentally get off to the thought of taking action. People think that they're learning because they watch a video on 10 ways to lock in, top 10 ways to be more productive, but you're not really learning anything because you're not applying it. You're just consuming. You're just hyper consuming content. And people do that so much where they lose the ability to create and lose the ability to truly reflect internally. And that's really where true growth comes from, is that true internal reflection and taking accountability. Not taking accountability in the way of, I can't jerk off and I can't play video games. I'm going to watch motivational content. Not like that. True accountability and understanding that all those things you do are downstream from the little actions, When you choose to sleep in, when you told yourself you'd wake up early, that is you essentially casting a vote that you're not that person that you need to become. And the thing about your identity and the thing about personal development is the chains of identity are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. So when you think, your mind sweet talks you and says, you can go back to bed, even though you said the night before you'd get up early, even though that really deep down that's what you have to do. You get coerced, you go back to bed, you wake up and you say, oh, that was nice. And maybe you tell yourself, I'd be so unproductive all day if I stayed up because I'd be too tired. And then the chains that you're putting on of your past self are too light to be felt in that moment because you think it's okay. But then it starts becoming a habit. And then right when you notice it, it's already too late. And you're right back to where you were before, right back into that past identity. When true accountability is taking accountability for everything, for the thoughts that you have, the media you consume, just constantly trying to live, derive your joy and your worth by living in congruence with that person that you have to become. And always focusing on the next level and the next trait that you have to adopt. And that's really what I'm all about here. I'm all about constant improvement, and I strive to be truly excellent in every facet of my character. I guess in addition to that, something I forgot to say, I'm 22. I'm 22 in my fourth year of university studies. The university part isn't as fundamental to my identity. I'm just blessed with the ability to go, so I go. And, I almost dropped out multiple times in my first few years. I gained so much weight, and that I was blessed with all these burdens, the burden of going to school and struggling with that, and the burden of, binge eating every night, and it being so difficult to overcome that, being inconsistent in the gym, being so fixated on the outcomes. But at the end of the day, you can only get such a nice pair of headphones or such a nice computer or such a nice apartment. It's all vanity at the end of the day. All that stuff is, doesn't fulfill you. You can only live operating in that mentality where you just do what you think is going to, let you get by and get the things that you want materially, and not actually what's going to allow you to excel and become the best version that you can possibly become, as an actual man and as a person with a soul. You can only do that for so long until that voice that you hear, that internal monologue that's, late at night or when you're in the shower, when you're alone and you can't drown it out. You can only do that for so long until you can't drown it out anymore. And I hit some crazy lows. One term in I think it was my second second term, where I had 5 courses. I withdrew from one, exactly 50 on the other, on 3 of them, and then 63. It was 63 in that other course. But that was like such a brutal term that coming out of that last exam that I took, I just thought, like, I was in such a dark place. I just thought, let me fail so I'll have, so shit'll get real for me, because I just drowned out my thoughts so much. I just said, please let me. I didn't even know why I thought that. I just thought I needed some crazy rock bottom to actually, make me do something. Somehow didn't fail a course. I got exactly 50 on so many courses, which is still crazy to me. I don't know if there was some TA or some marker that just moved it over, but regardless, that was such a dark period of time in my life. And, now, but I got so much done this morning, and I'm really ahead in school. And like I said, it's not a huge part of my identity. I'm not trying to be some sort of how to be super productive in university. I honestly, like I said, I just do it because I'm blessed with the burden of being able to attend it and push myself in that facet. And I believe that everything in my life, all these experiences that I've had, have all culminated into me making this channel, have all these unique experiences that I had to overcome. Whereas, before I would think, oh, why am I in school? I really want to be an entrepreneur. It's just such a weak mentality when, you start entering that line of dialogue where you think, oh, why do I have this? Or why do I have that? Why am I burdened with this? It's like you're just undermining everything. When you start debating, oh, is it okay for me to jerk off sometimes? It's like you're undermining the whole thing. It's like you're not even fighting, in my past self, and in so many people, they're not even fighting a battle against, trying to make this business work, or fighting a battle of trying to, find a job, or, work their ass off so they don't have to live on the street. You're fighting an internal battle, and you're losing. Not even an external one. Like, people aren't even on their own side, right? And it's disgusting. And I do get it, though. I do get that it's super painful, to figure stuff out as a man and, know what you truly want. But it really started with a truly deep, impactful, painful moment where I just thought I have to be excellent in every facet. I always had that. And if you're watching this video, you probably had that too. It's like that self-improvement imperative where you really do want it all and you want to be exceptional, but you got to take accountability that everything you do, manifests into who you are. And it's not you trying to do these things. It's you trying to kill the current version of you and literally become unrecognizable in the way your brain operates and in the way you present yourself, the way you speak, choosing essentially the paths in your life that the future you would do and rejecting what the current you does. Those things that are core to your identity now that you have to kill and reject, like for me, playing video games. Like, I'd binge eat every night. It was sort of just a habit I had, these deeply ingrained habits and thought patterns that I had to cast away, and controlling my thoughts, you know? That's true sacrifice and true improvement in self-improvement and just in life, as a man. I know I sort of just started talking, about what was on my mind, and it was less of an intro, but I mean, I guess this was a great intro. This is really what I'm all about. That was just me I was just talking about what I've been thinking about. And if you got some value from this, or if it resonated with you, or you think that my future videos, would impact you, and you think you could derive some sort of value from it, feel free to subscribe and like. And I'll put my Instagram in the description, because I'll be posting content on there, but also I'll be posting a lot on my stories, because I am thinking about this stuff 24/7. I am buzzing with this stuff, and I really do want to share that. I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I feel like I just need to share it, because I really don't have anyone in person to share it with. I used to be I still am sociable. I'm not like a dick, but I just told my friends that I'm sitting alone. And some people think I'm weird for that. Like at my residence, when I don't talk to people as much, I don't hang out with anyone. I eat alone mostly. I still sometimes eat with people, but people think I'm weird, but that's just, what I need. And, when I made that decision, it's really, I've been able to get a lot of growth from that, and just become this infinite positive feedback loop where people aren't putting me in the box that they knew me of before, and, putting me in the box that they limit themselves in. I'm just able to, become my own positive feedback loop, and I've gotten a lot of growth from that. So anyways, if you think you get some value from this, please watch my content. I think if I resonated with you, my future videos will resonate with you, and impact, hopefully give you some sort of change. So that's for this video. Let's get to this channel. I'm really excited for it. Let's get it.